Hi, this is Carrie Mitchum. Welcome to Hollywood and Beyond with your host, Steven Brittingham. Enjoy the show.
Hello, this is Anna East Eden. Have a question or comment for Steven? You can send them anytime to the show's official email address, hollywoodandbeyondshow@gmail.com. Steven looks forward to hearing from you soon.
You can receive all the latest episodes of Hollywood and Beyond with Steven Brittingham delivered to your favorite listening device by subscribing to the show on Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or whatever happens to be your favorite podcast listening service. Don't miss out. Tune in. Thank you for listening. And now, your host, actor and writer, Steven Brittingham.
Welcome to Hollywood and Beyond podcast, friends and listeners. Always appreciated to have you listening. Thank you so much. I am your host, actor and writer, Steven Brittingham. My special guest today is a lady who left her mark on daytime television. Or perhaps the more fun words to use would be soap operas. First on One Life to Live, that would soon be followed by appearing on Another World as Maggie Corey. Robyn Griggs Wiley is here today to share more than her acting stories and memories. She is here first and foremost to share her battle with a stage 4 cancer diagnosis. And she is displaying impressive strength. She is a true fighter if I've ever seen one. It is my pleasure to have her on the show today. Robyn, welcome to Hollywood and Beyond.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. It's a pleasure and an honor to be speaking with you today.
Well, it's nice to speak to you, too. And you have a wonderful voice. I love your voice.
Well, thank you. Well, you know how to make someone's day brighten up, but thank you so much.
Oh, I'm just honest.
Well, I like your kind of honesty. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Well, that is very kind of you to say. Thank you so much. I've been looking forward to speaking with you. I have been aware of your career for a long time. And I'm very excited to learn more about your career. But let me just say up front, I wish it was under different circumstances. And but I really appreciate that you would be willing to be here today to share your journal and your battle with cancer with me and the listeners. So thank you, Robyn, so much. But I thought before we begin is that I'd say, hey, I'm here in Cincinnati, Ohio, my hometown, and I believe you're joining me from Arizona.
Yes, from Flagstaff, Arizona.
Flagstaff,
and it is
Arizona.
Beautiful here. Yes, it is gorgeous. It's how do I explain it? When my husband said about going to Arizona, I was thinking like Tucson, that type of weather where it's like really, really, really hot. Flagstaff is a part of Arizona that has seasons and pine trees. It's like the Poconos. So when we arrived here, it was a lot of snow. we're kind of in a skiing area too, so it was a lot of snow, but
Wow.
It melts so quickly. and now we're getting into the weather that I really like, which is kind of like the 70s.
Very nice.
And yes, very nice. Because too hot for me is just too hot. Too hot is like the 90s, and I can deal with it, but I'm so fair-skinned and everything that it's kind of hard for me to stay out, and I'm not good with heat like that. So, but this is I love it here. It's beautiful.
Well, what a nice description. I will share something with you, Robyn. I have my own experience with Flagstaff.
Really?
Years ago, as a young man, I was driving across the country to Los Angeles to start the pursuit of my acting career, or to expand it. Let's put it that way. And I was driving through Flagstaff, and due to a snow situation, I had to spend the night when I didn't expect to. And that was like such a big surprise for me that I had to like pull over, go to a hotel way before I thought I would have to, because it was snowing so much.
Oh yeah, they get snow. They get pounded with snow. And I found that, as, like, put it this way, the movers were coming in, and we had to really watch, because it was, I mean, every time something was shoveled, it would snow over. So it was, yeah, it was a rude awakening. It wasn't Tucson, that's for sure.
Well, the next day I was in sunny LA, so I guess that's not too bad, is it?
No, it's close. I have a sister that's in California, and what's nice is she's close. Sandy and her husband Greg, they live in Beaumont, and they're actually coming to visit me soon, so that'll be good.
Hey, that's wonderful.
They get to hang out. Yeah, my husband will be able to take them out on the golf course, and it'll be nice. And so, I do love the weather, but I also love that I'm close to, California, if I wanted to do acting or something. And then I'm also close to Vegas, because I love Vegas. And
there you go.
Yeah. And we have relatives there too. So,
I've never been to Vegas, Robyn.
Really?
But I've always wanted to go.
I love Vegas. I love Vegas. And actually Vegas, my husband and I got married there, in a relative's backyard, Grandma Jones' backyard. And my sister-in-law's out there, and so Julie, and it was just really nice and beautiful. But I will tell you, it was hot. The day we got married, it was 115.
Whoa!
And I was,
that is a bit steamy.
I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I'm like, you know what? I nearly got married in a bikini in the pool, because I was just like, let's get this over with. I do, and there you go.
And then we're going to go to the pool for the reception, because I'm just way too hot here.
Yes, and one of the best shows I've ever seen in my entire life, I saw in Vegas, and that was Michael Jackson's one.
Wow.
That the Cirque du Soleil did, and it was. I mean, I've seen Broadway shows and stuff. This was the most amazing thing that I have ever seen. I mean, it was,
wow.
They even had, it was snowing on the audience. I mean, it was amazing.
My goodness.
I know. And then you forget about what a talented man, and how much music.
Yes.
Like, they didn't even touch on a lot of the hits. I mean, it's amazing, the hits that he had. So it was wonderful. But yeah, I love Vegas. I like being close there.
Well, Robyn, we're similar in age, but to be fair, I am a few years older than you. So, hey, let's get that out of the way. But so you are a bit younger than me, and that's good. But you know what? So, like, you would understand when I say I grew up in the 80s, I got to experience that decade that's still, so firmly in my heart. And, you brought back memories of going into, there were stores called Gold Circle when I was growing up, in the suburbs of Dayton, is in Kettering. And inside the stores would be these racks of Michael Jackson, the jackets that he used to wear on the Thriller album and for Beat It. And I can picture them. They were in red and black. Wow, you brought back that memory.
Yeah, Michael Jackson, I mean, I love early Michael Jackson too. I mean, the talent and just, I love the 80s though.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
If I'm in the car or something, I will put on an 80s station, just because, I mean, it's what I grew up with, and it's just, the music was so good.
Well, Robyn, do you have satellite radio by chance?
What I use is, let's see. It's Sirius XM.
Perfect. Then you know all about the 80s channel.
Yes, I have. Oh, let me tell you, it's programmed in. I have the 80s.
Yes.
That, and I have, I think it's called The Wave, because it has alternative, because I like all different types of music.
Me too.
So for me, having like satellite radio is perfect, because I can switch it to a Broadway station, or I can do whatever, you know.
Or if I want some 90s, because I do like some 90s, I can go to the 90s.
I do too. Yeah. It makes it nice. It separates.
Yes. And isn't it surreal, Robyn, that, you and I were there for MTV and the boom of music videos and how that impacted, albums. But, isn't it surreal to hear the original MTV VJs hosting on the 80s channel? I love it.
Yes. It was funny. I was listening the other day, and it was Alan Hunter's
Yes.
show. And I was just, and you know what? When you listen to these people, because we grew up watching them, you don't realize they aged at all. You're thinking of them on MTV. You know, it's kind of like, Debbie Gibson, and she does a show on there and of her favorite songs and everything. And, I knew Debbie, I've met her a few times. And so it was really interesting for me, because I was like, oh my gosh, she's talking about, and they're talking about their experiences and everything. I think it's so interesting. I love it.
And I saw Debbie Gibson in concert as a teenager. So I believe
there you go.
Yeah, she's our age too. And I was actually only a few rows back, and she leaned over, and I touched her a total of 4 times. And I remember saying for days, I touched Debbie Gibson 4 times. And
that's hilarious.
Yes, I remember I actually went around saying that. And but it was a great concert. Very, very talented lady. I really like her voice. Very appealing.
Yes, and she writes. I think for me, an artist can be a great performer, but I'm not into, so many of these shows now, everything is electronic and distorted and changed in the engineering process. And then the people, I want to see them perform live, and I want to hear them sing live. And it's like a lot of the 80s artists, they had to sing live. I mean, it wasn't, and like country artists will sing live, but so many of the tracks now, and I love the music now too, I do, but so many is, you can't really get the idea of if the person actually can sing or not,
Well, Robyn, I'll tell you what, I'm really enjoying speaking with you so much already. And
well, thank you.
I never thought we would be covering these topics to begin with.
Well, you never know. You never know with me. Let me tell you, I just kind of, these days, it's just kind of memories come back, and you just go with it.
Well, you're welcome to share anything, and I will share one more thing about Vegas. I assume you've seen the vacation movies with Chevy Chase.
Oh, of course.
So the one where he goes to Vegas. So that's one of my favorites. And whenever I have friends that go to Vegas, I always say, hey, just don't do what Chevy Chase did in Vegas Vacation, and you'll be okay. And they always get a big kick out of that, because he pretty much spent everything he had.
Yes. It was, that all those movies are good.
They sure are.
There we go. We're going back to 80s and 90s movies, and phenomenal classics.
And isn't it nice to see someone like Wayne Newton who can just have fun with himself?
Yes. No, seriously.
It's nice, isn't it?
It's nice and refreshing. It's kind of like, you think of Vegas, first thing I think of with Vegas for some reason is Elvis, and then Wayne Newton. Now it's Celine Dion,
Yeah. And I can still picture that scene where he's hitting on, Clark's wife, and he has this plate of spaghetti, and he's like, Here's a recipe that Dean Martin gave me himself. And I'm just like, this guy can have fun with himself. It's just really refreshing. And
Perfect. Yes.
Well, Robyn, I'll tell you what. You have, a situation that you're dealing with, and the more I learn about it, the more inspired I become with your fighting spirit. And I thought you, of all people, are the best person to describe your situation. But I thought I would start off by asking you, how did this all come about? I mean, and were you a person that would go to the doctor on a regular basis beforehand?
Okay. Well, first of all, no.
Gotcha.
I was not going and getting checked up, and I cannot stress to people how important that is. I wasn't going and getting checkups. I think in my mind, it was like, well, I feel okay. I'm fine. But I wasn't feeling okay. I started having a problem going to the bathroom. It was like, if I had to urinate, it was trickling. It wasn't, and my stomach was starting to swell up. And I thought it was from my period. And here I had a mass covering my cervix. And then my stomach, which I thought was fluid and stuff, turned out to be masses on my stomach. And what I was diagnosed with was stage 4 endocervical adeno. So it wasn't fun, and then I went in and went to the gynecologist because I thought something was wrong. They told me I had a very large mass. I needed a specialist. I went to a specialist. They had me do a CT scan. And, I drove myself to have the CT scan and thought, this is nothing. It's a little lump probably. They'll just remove it. And no, they're like, we need to get you admitted to the hospital because the masses on my stomach were squeezing my organs. So I ended up in the hospital and was diagnosed about 3 days later, and being told, number one, you have cancer. That's scary enough, but I'm tough. And I'm like, you know what? At least we're catching it early type of thing. And no, that wasn't the case. It was, we're not sure exactly when this started. And stage 4. And the first thing that comes to your mind, to my mind, was I just broke down in tears, from being strong and giggly and everything to just breaking down in tears. You not only realize, okay, there's something wrong with me that's very, very serious. And what is my life expectancy? But it's also, how am I going to afford this? I mean, I hate to say it, but cancer is a huge financial industry, and it's to go through just the emotional strain as well as the physical strain. And you honestly feel like you have an alien inside of you, and why can't they just go in and cut it out? And with me, they couldn't do that. It's not, I know breast cancer, they usually will take, and do surgery sometimes first and then do the chemo. With this, you have to go through chemo and see if you can have surgery. So I went through 6 cycles. 6 cycles of chemotherapy. And there's a level that is your tumor marker that when they do the blood test, that's called the CA-125. Normal range is 0 to 30. And I was at 1,150. So it was unheard of. And yeah, it was really bad. And after my second cycle of chemo, I went down to 990. And then the third cycle, I went to 192. And then, by the 6th cycle, I was at 36. And nothing spreading. So thank the Lord. And so what they said was, we have to have a PET scan, a CT scan, and we'll see if it's possible to do surgery. And it turned out it was possible to do surgery. And December 22nd, I had, everything taken out of me, everything but the kitchen sink.
You got to keep that.
Or I should say, and the kitchen sink. But it was, they even took out my appendix when they went in. They found that it didn't look right, and it turned out that did have cancer too. So, and then I went through 2 more cycles after surgery of chemotherapy, and now I'm getting treatment every 21 days of a drug called Avastin, just kind of a cancer wonder drug, and but very, very, very expensive. Out of all the treatments I've had, it is, it would be the one medicine that I have to continue is the most expensive medicine of all time.
Just your luck. The most expensive.
Just my luck. The most expensive, but I've been fortunate with, I was very open and honest with the fact of what I was dealing with and my diagnosis. And I, have such a strong family. Mark and I, my husband Mark and I are very blessed. Both sides of our family are we have very large families, but they're all very supportive, very strong. And fundraisers were started, and, things get tight and everything, but still they all go to the medical bills, and it relieves a lot of stress. So I'm very fortunate with that. And with the fans, contributing, and not only that, but the prayers. I mean, foremost is the prayers. I think prayers work a ton, and I can't thank anyone more, or enough for all the prayers, because every time, I'd say I need prayers, there was a whole slew of people there for me. So I thank you all. But yeah, I'm here now in Arizona getting treatment, and I had a treatment not too long ago, and it was a little rough on me. But I don't know if that's because of the treatment so much as it was my second dose of COVID too, that I had the vaccine.
Yeah.
So
that could have done it.
So I don't know what, but you definitely feel exhausted. I get tired, but I have a lot of energy still and a lot of life in me. And so I'm not done yet.
Well, I have to agree with you on all of that. That's basically
it. Yeah. So that's basically what I gave you, the whole rundown, basically.
Well, I appreciate that. I was spot on when I said you are the person that can describe it the best. And well, you sure did.
I'll tell you, I had a team of doctors that believed, and that's huge. They didn't just say, we're going to do this and be done with it. It was, no, we're going to try this. We're going to try that. Dr. Yamada, Dr. Roy, and an amazing man, Dr. Rosado. He was my oncologist and just kept going at it. And any questions I had, any fears I had, I could go to him, and it was, it didn't matter when, I could text him, I could call, whatever. And that's huge. You need anyone going through this, or anyone who knows that's going through this. It's so important to have a good team. Not as, it's wonderful to have the support and friends, family, your pets. I mean,
yes,
there are things, and so it's huge to have a really supportive group surrounding you, but your doctors are the ones that really have to be spot on. And I have a new oncologist, Dr. Mathern, and he's wonderful. And I'm very blessed with they all still are working together, and that's huge. You have to have a team that works together. So I'm very blessed, I feel.
I'm glad to hear that. And you're right. You would want your doctor to help lead the charge, so to speak, and be someone that you're comfortable with and who genuinely and sincerely is involved in the ways that is needed and is looking to find a solution. So I'm so pleased to hear that, Robyn. And as far as those prayers, you can count me on the list from here on out. I'm going to be sending a whole bunch your way, just so you know.
Thank you so much.
Well, Robyn, I'm just wondering, when you first get such a diagnosis, I'm sure it might cause your head to start swimming immediately and all sorts of emotions. But I'm wondering if one of those emotions is just the sudden realization of just how amazing life is in general. Just daily living.
To be honest, I went back and forth. I went through, I'm furious. How could this happen? To, oh my gosh, I've been so blessed with everything going on and how lucky I am that I made it to the hospital. I made it to get diagnosed. It's huge to be diagnosed, but it's huge to be checked out and keep up with it. There's a vaccine now called HPV vaccine. There are so many factors that I could have helped prevent what I'm going through that I didn't do. And, the realization of your life, you go back, we were talking about the 80s and my wedding and, I mean, all those memories come back and they're all good. And even the bad ones, you realize, okay, well, I screwed up, but I learned from it. And that's life, It's not always going to be peaches and cream,
No.
It's what you make it. And so, I've always been an optimistic type of person, as you can tell, probably.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
I'm just like, nope, cancer's not taking me. Sorry, it's not happening.
Well, you have a wonderful
not
spirit.
Gonna happen.
And I'm glad you're going to be fighting like that. And but I'm glad you shared that look, you were going back and forth, anger, but then feeling gratitude and then back and forth. So now does that kind of settle down over time, or do you still have some moments where you're like, darn it anyway?
Well, I don't have the anger because what does that do? That doesn't help.
That's true.
That's true. I mean, I can't change it, so it's like you're dealt these cards. Let's make a royal flush out of it, Let's do something good, So I think it's so easy to, go back to that anger, and I refuse. But I have moments where I break down and cry, and then I start feeling sad for myself. And it's like, and it's 10 times worse because I'm an actress. So
yes,
my poor husband, and my poor little dog, Ralphie, which I'm sure many of the listeners know Ralphie. Ralphie has been a wonderful nurse. And Mark, my husband, they give me the strength to just, because even though you have the support of your family and your friends and stuff, they aren't physically in front of you to see what you're going through and to see, there are days that you can't get up. There are days that you can barely speak. You have pain. You have, but not only do you have physical pain, you have emotional pain. And I think one of the things that has helped so much is Mark has, been like, nope, why don't you come out here on the couch and let's watch TV? And, it gets me moving because if you just lay you can't just lay in your own pity and sure, you can be, you know, you're going to have those moments. It's good to cry. It's good to have those things. But you know what? Use that energy to, you know, sit down somewhere else other than laying in bed, you know, do something. I try to go out and, you know, I have a rocking chair on my little porch here, and I'll try and go and just sit out in the rocking chair and take Ralphie outside with me. You know,
well, that
I
sounds
can't
nice.
really walk a ton, but I'm getting better each week. I try to add a few more steps in, and, you know, I don't have the okay necessarily to like go full force, you know, and work out and do all this stuff, but I'm determined that I'm going to get there.
Well, I wish there wasn't so many miles between us, Robyn, because I'd be glad to come over now and then and try to brighten up your day and spend a little time with you.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. And, you know, it's, you know, thank the Lord for the social media. I can keep in touch with people. And everyone's been really just uplifting. And I think that's a huge thing for people is, and that's not just with people who have cancer or, you know, there are people that go through depression. There are people that go through diabetes. There's, you know, so many factors in our lives and that can affect our daily process. And I think, you know, just taking a moment to just have fun a little bit, live a little bit, you know, and that doesn't mean go out and get drunk and act like a fool. It means, you know, it means go and, you know, do something out of the norm, you know, and for me, out of the norm is, you know, getting up and walking the dog, you know,
well, and taking a little extra effort to do that. You've made a decision like I could stay in bed, but you know what? I'm not.
Right. And another thing is I'm like hooked on these darn cooking shows and the HGTV and, you know, the COVID thing didn't help because, you know, we all were quarantined. So it was like, okay, you know, well, what am I going to do? You know, give me a sledgehammer so I can tear down a wall. And
well, you know, Robyn,
you know that
you brought up something that it's very interesting. I have the same approach. And that is, you know, with everything that has gone on with COVID and being such a downer, of course, understandably so. But you know what? I just feel like people need to start having like fun again. And even if it's simple fun, like you mentioned, just taking a walk or sitting on the porch. And, you know, the same for me. I'm taking a walk on a beautiful spring day with my dog, Sophie. And I just have to tell you what, I'm trying to have fun. I'm trying to find activities that I enjoy. And I just think that's a wonderful perspective.
Yeah, I mean, we're all in the same boat. It doesn't matter if you have a disease or anything. We're all in the same boat right now. And, you know, I was lucky and got the vaccine and, you know, but what do we know? You know, we don't know what tomorrow brings. Each day has been either, you know, something happening with rioting or we all need to be quarantined again. Restaurants are shut down. You know, it's kind of like you have to go day by day. And that's kind of like what I'm dealing with, even if COVID wasn't around. It's like I have to go day by day. I have to just try and find something every day to smile about. And I always was told if you find something before you shut your eyes at night that makes you smile or laugh or was a good thing about that day, you're not going to have wrinkles.
I'm all for that.
But that didn't work out too well. But
well, it's a thought that counts, I suppose, in that scenario. And you know, Robyn, you have a new hairstyle, don't you, because of all of this? It's very similar to mine.
Oh, you know, it's so I
And I'm not making light of
remember-
anything. I hope folks know that. I just, you know, I'm just trying to, you know, just have a little bit of fun with such a difficult situation.
Oh, please. Yeah. No, it's my hair, you know, I had this pretty blonde, you know, hair, and it started coming out in clumps. And I mean big clumps. And I called my husband at work. He was at work one day, and I said, I need you to shave my head. And he's like, no, no, no. Well, he came home. It was, you know, it was getting matted. Like when I wash it, it would get matted.
Yeah.
And so he shaved it. And I mean, that was the big thing, was when it was when he was shaving my head. I just started bawling and still tearing up. But I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
But
you're fine.
But it, you know what? It's coming back. But here's a funny story. When I was little, I didn't really get hair till I was almost 2. So they they called me the bald eagle. And there are pictures of me with this brown hair, like reddish brown hair, and there was like a tuft in the front, and then there was like just little hints of color. That's what my hair is now. It is the funniest looking thing right now. I have like dark at the front. I look like Squiggy a little bit. Like I have dark. Squiggy from Laverne and Shirley. That's my hairstyle, except he had a lot more hair. But it's funny, you know. But I have tons of wigs, so I'm okay. You know.
I mean, do you feel comfortable wearing a wig? I mean,
I did. You know, I was kind of having fun with it, and then I was like, "There's nothing to anchor it to." Like you can't clip it in. So, and I can't really use latex, you know, like the wig stuff on me. So, and I'm not allergic to latex. It's just because of my treatments and everything, there could be a reaction. So I have to wear a baseball hat or something with it. And, every now and then I'll do it, but it got to a point, it's like, no, you know what? I need to be comfortable, number one. And I just feel this is me, you know, and this is my reality. And, you know, there are days where I'm going to put on makeup and have a wig on and get dressed up or something. And then there are days when I'm going to be just in my sweats and my slippers or flip-flops and, you know, take it as it is.
Just be you. I mean, absolutely. Just be you. And
yeah,
well, I know that had to be difficult to lose a nice set of hair.
Oh, it was.
But Robyn, you are still a beautiful lady today. I've seen lots of photos of you today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I think that's another thing a person goes through is you have to have that realization, like, you know what, you're more than hair. So,
yes,
you know, my husband kept telling me, he's like, you're beautiful. He's like, you don't need hair. And I'm like, but I do. You don't understand. I do. But I'll tell you, I'm saving tons of money on hair products.
There you go. That makes both of us.
Yeah. Cause I'm a gimmick like person. Like if I've been staying away from the infomercials because I'm one of those. It's like, oh my gosh, but they say it's going to work, you know. So anything to do with hair, like, you know, this hair straightener or something like that. Yeah. So.
Well, Robyn, when you know, back in the day, back in the 80s, I used to even blow dry my hair. And then when Emilio Estevez became very popular, as you know, and in a whole bunch of movies that teenagers or young adults in particular identified with, I remember I used to go into the barbershop, and I still remember this to this day, and I said to the lady, I'd like the wet look. She's like, the wet look? I was like, yeah, you know, the Emilio Estevez spiked hair look with the gel. And I had that for a while. It was all very nice. It wasn't like punk rock, but it was just all, you know, that remember that look back then? Guys used to wear that occasionally. And But I tell you what, over the years, I've lost my hair. And you know what? It bothered me for a while, Robyn. And then finally I said, you know what? This is just who I am now. And you know what? I found out that it's not really so appalling after all.
Right. Well, that's exactly what it is. It's, what are you going to do about it? I mean, there are things you can do about it, but honestly, it's like, it's hair, and these days we can change our look anytime we want. But, I do have some very pretty wigs, and,
okay,
I
can mix it up a little
growing. Bit. Yeah, my hair's growing and it's looking kind of really weird. And, so I probably will be trying to do some wigs when I go out in public. But, I tend to put on, I'm a huge sports fan, and I tend to put on my Chicago White Sox hats. And
White Sox, wow.
And, yes, I know. And the funny thing is, we moved to Arizona from Illinois, and the first baseball game I saw was the Indians playing the White Sox. And I wasn't even a White Sox fan, but I wanted to see it because of Lindor, a player who's now a Met, but which is my husband's team, doggone it. But I kind of really like the game. I like Tim Anderson and Moncada and stuff. Mm-hmm. And when I got diagnosed, it was in the heart of the COVID stuff. I was diagnosed August 4th, and the only thing there was to watch was baseball. Honestly, I mean, we were getting ready for football and stuff. And for me, I watched all the White Sox games.
Well, that's great. They kind of came back in August, I think.
Well, yeah. I became a diehard White Sox fan.
Wow.
And in fact, I'm on the group on Facebook, the Chicago White Sox diehard fan.
That's awesome.
But it's funny. And, here we come out to Arizona, and the other night, I'm at Walgreens, and there's a kid with a White Sox mask on, and I'm like, oh my goodness. I'm like, we have a really good team. And he's like, yeah, we do. I'm like, yeah, our bullpen though is not that great right now, but we are really good.
Oh, I love that kind of talk. I love it. Well, I'm a huge Cincinnati Reds fan. Probably not a big shock to you considering where I'm from. And they are off to some, amazing start. They got a little roughed up there against those Diamondbacks. They were just like a pain in their sides. That's like the darn Diamondbacks. But they've got a little bit back on track in San Fran. And if they win today, they'll have a 500 road trip and still be sitting pretty. But I'm very excited to have baseball back. And I'm sure that brings a lot of comfort to you. I'm excited,
yeah. And I'm excited also because, like, with my hair, I just put on my White Sox hat and go out, and no one says a word, except the only thing I usually get is the socks. And so he's like, yeah. But your Reds are good. Like, they've...
I'll tell you what, they have... Okay, if you see any games, I mean, they just have this, like, swag that's just like... I don't know. It's just very interesting. Year.
Yeah, they're different than last year.
Yeah, I think they took that playoff experience last year, which, by the way, was an amazing comeback. They were really on the borderline of kind of, I don't think we can ever catch up to being over 500. And then, boom, they clawed their way in.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what? We're not done here. We've got to go all the way this time, go much farther. So I'm really excited to have them back, and I wish good luck to your White Sox.
Well, thank you. I mean, we're having a rough start. I thought for sure we were going to sweep everything, but we're having a little bit of a problem. But I just need to let them know, like, come on, I have cancer. You guys have to win.
I need some. I need some comfort here. I need something to pick me up. So come on, guys.
Yeah, like come on, guys, pull it together. Louise Robert, please hit a home run.
There you go. Do something. Isn't that the interesting thing about baseball is, the Reds got off to this hot start, but then they go to Arizona and they won the first game, but then the next two, things didn't go their way, and you get kind of down in the dumps. But then guess what? The first game in San Francisco, they win. I mean, it's really a sport about bouncing back. You can't just throw in the towel.
Right. And that's the same kind of thing with me. It's like I could have easily just said, okay, I'm dying. That's it. And no, I won't throw in the towel.
Well,
I've
Robyn,
got so much more to do.
You sure do. Let me tell you, you have so much more to do. And, I'm thinking of what you just said there, and that is, I think the body responds so much to what the mind has to say. So if you're sending a message to your body like, look, we're not giving up here, we're going to fight, I think the body picks up on that.
Yes, I do too. I honestly do. And, I had doctors who told me, you know what? Your positivity is going to get you through. It's going to take you places. It's going to get you far. And it sure has, So the 2 P's, positivity and prayer.
Well, Robyn, 10 years from now, you need to come back when I'm about to turn 60. So you can provide me some comfort at that time.
I will. I definitely will. We'll do an 80s show.
Oh, let me tell you, anytime. If you would like to come and just to discuss the decade and memories, I have to tell you, that's one thing I like to do as host is to offer those type of episodes as well. And I would love that. Now you've inspired me.
Oh, good. I would love to do that. We have to do that, definitely.
I'm full of 80 stories, Robyn, let me tell you. Anywhere from hiding in the trunk when going to a drive-in so you don't have to pay all the extra admission fee.
Yes.
To riding my bicycle all over my neighborhood. Oh, my goodness. All over the place.
Yes. What a different time. It was a fun
really
time to be around.
Well, I look forward to having you back to share your 80s memories. Oh, that sounds, well, excuse the pun, but that sounds awesome.
Yes, it's definitely awesome.
We said that a lot back then, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
And Robyn, speaking of hair, there was all kinds of hairstyles back then, wasn't there?
Oh my goodness. It was, oh Lordy.
Oh, Robyn, I've got one more thing to say about this, and that is this, because, my son is now 20, and I remember one day, we were talking about this actress, and I said, oh, yeah, back in the 80s, I mean, I thought she was a fox. And he's like, a fox? I was like, yes, a fox. He's like, what do you mean, Dad, a fox? I'm like, you're not familiar with the term of fox? He's like, Dad, nobody says fox at school about any of the girls. I said, well, trust me. Back then, if we found a girl extra attractive or really good looking, we would say, wow, she's a fox. He's like, okay, Dad, but we don't say that anymore.
Oh, my goodness. Well, that's like my husband, and he's going to kill me for this.
Oh.
But I think he said that he had posters of Alyssa Milano, and I know Alyssa. So
oh, wow.
He had posters of Alyssa Milano. But the other one was Samantha Fox.
I remember Samantha Fox. Yes.
Yes. So I was cracking. I'm like, are you serious? Samantha Fox? And he goes, yep. I was like, oh, let's not discuss this anymore.
She just kind of bursted on the scene there with that big hit, Touch Me. And
yeah, she like burst on there. And
yeah, it's just
left.
like all of a sudden, boom.
Yes. So very funny.
It is very funny, and another quick memory is after I saw The Karate Kid for the first time in the theater, right, in the actual theater, and that beach scene with Elizabeth Shue, the first time they show her, and Daniel's kind of looking at her.
Elizabeth Shue.
I remember I went home and told my friends instantly. I said, I have to tell you guys, I just saw the most awesome movie. It's so good, but I also happened to see the prettiest girl in the world. And they're like, who is she? I said, her name's Elizabeth Shue. Trust me, go see it. And I still remember that. So,
you know what? She is such a nice person, but a funny story of this goes into the soap.
yes.
I think it was Teen Magazine set up a date, like for me, like where they would follow me around and take pictures. I think it was like Teen B or
okay.
Teen Mag. It was one of the magazines. I'm not positive, but it was me and Andrew Shue.
Oh, okay.
And Andrew Shue was Elizabeth Shue's little brother, and he was on Melrose Place.
Yes, I remember him well.
We ended up.
I like that show.
Yeah, so we ended up on this date, and then we hung out a few times, but it was just really, really funny because that, you know, Elizabeth knew my manager and was actually she was with my manager, and Andrew was too. And it was interesting because I just thought, oh my gosh, Elizabeth Shue, how wonderful. And she didn't do that many shows that I remember. I think she was in Back to the Future. She played the girlfriend in one of the Back to the Futures.
Yes.
And she was in like Karate Kid, and I think it was
The Adventures of Babysitting?
The Adventures of Babysitting. But it wasn't like it was, you know, like Brad Pitt, who was later in life, but I mean, like back to back movies.
Right.
And she so talented.
Yes,
so talented.
yes. And then she would appear on CSI, the original, and I thought she was great.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know that.
And the last few seasons.
She's really talented.
Yeah, she sure is.
More than what people are aware of. She's very talented.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. And, wow, we got to do this 80s episode.
Yeah, we have to.
I mean,
we could do 80s, we could do sports, we could go over wigs.
Yes, and we can tweet the episode once it's available. We could tweet the episode to Sirius XM and the 80s on 8 and all the VJ hosts.
There you go. Yes. It's a plan. It's a complete plan.
All right. I can't wait to tell a few people about that. I think that is just so cool. Well, Robyn, I wanted to ask you, you were mentioning about technology and how, you know, that's good for you because you have access to people and they let you know that they're pulling for you, praying for you. Now, I'm just wondering, though, as far as people you've worked with over the years, whether it be on, you know, a soap opera or some of those horror films that you appeared in, are you hearing from a lot of people that you've worked with over the years?
Yes, I do hear from people quite a bit, actually.
That's good.
And it's interesting. Several people from the horror films, you know, for years that I was on Another World, Diego was my love interest, Diego Serrano. He played Tomas. And we talk, like, I should say we talk. It's online. But he's, you know, and he's even donated and stuff. But he's like, I'm sending you a hug, or, you know, hang in there, you know, very supportive. Tanya Walker, who played my aunt on One Life to Live.
Very talented
Alex.
lady.
And, I love Tanya and so beautiful. And, Tanya is another one who has just been there and been very supportive and posted and sent me a message, and, you know, they, and Christine Tucci, you know,
yes.
Christine was always just such a sweet sweet person. She played my aunt also.
Played your aunt. Okay.
Amanda. She was my Aunt Amanda on Another World.
Another World.
Christine, from the minute we met, we just were friends. I mean, we hit it off. I almost felt like she was like a sister or something, and I love her dearly. And there's so many people who also I didn't work with that are on my Facebook page now, and it's really interesting, people just showing their support, who maybe knew me in passing or we did charity work together or something, have been just wonderful. And it's horrible to say, but it to have something so bad go on, but yet it takes that sometimes to bring people together. And I'm one of those people, I do not care your race. I don't care who you like politically. I don't care, what your religion is. I just take you as you are. And I think that's huge. And I think everyone should be that way. But sometimes it takes a bad disease or a friend having, going through something bad to bring people together. But, I'm blessed. Everyone's just been very supportive.
That really warms my heart to hear that. And we have another thing in common. That's how I like to approach people. It's just who they are as a person and not all the other layers. That's what stands out to me. And like you, I feel really good talking with you, Robyn, even though it's
thank you.
Difficult subject matter. You have a wonderful laugh and a just interesting personality. And I just feel blessed actually speaking with you today.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And you know what? Like today you lifted my spirits, like I woke up kind of not feeling great because I just had treatment recently and everything, but you just kind of took me out of that. So I thank you.
Well, that really warms my heart. I'm glad to hear that. And I'm glad that you put up with my bad jokes. So that's a good sign right there.
Oh, no.
You even laugh at
Well,
them.
That's because I'm usually the one with the bad jokes. So it's nice someone else took that title from me.
Yes, you are welcome. I'll take it. Well, I'm glad to hear people are reaching out to you. And I'm just wondering, how did your journey into acting even begin for you? Like how did this all start for you?
Well, I'm the youngest of 5, and my poor siblings had to deal with me, and I always was singing and dancing and, had to be center of attention. And they started taking me to dance classes. I also took singing classes, and it turned out that the teachers thought I had talent, and it kind of spiraled. It went crazy from there. I ended up doing plays. My brother-in-law actually directed me in a play. And
wow.
Yeah, that was my very first play, and it was an Gibson play, and I only was 3, and I loved being on the stage, and it just continued. Every time I wasn't afraid to go to an audition and to get up on stage. I just was gutsy, and I liked doing that, and I liked playing softball. And that was my thing.
Softball, wow.
So, yeah.
That's awesome.
So basically, I ended up, starting out on stage, and always was considered mainly a singer. I trained for Annie for years, and I played Annie all over the place from the time I was 8 till I think the last time I was 13. And,
wow, that is several years. It's different versions of Annie, different age.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, I was Annie for a while. And, I did a lot of commercials, part of the Mudville gang for White Westinghouse. I did Coca-Cola. I also sang the Archway Cookie jingle. I mean, just tons of stuff. And then I ended up on Nickelodeon. And I was on a show called Rated K. And I also did MTV. I did lip service on MTV. And I just, I continued, and eventually I ended up on One Life to Live. And that originally was supposed to be just a recurring role. But the fans liked me and they wanted me, when I left the show, they wanted me back. They were picketing and stuff. So,
wow. Are you serious? That's incredible.
So I ended up back on the show and as a contract. And then I kind of quit. I moved out to LA, and then the first audition I agreed to was Another World. And after, screen test and everything, I ended up booking that. So I ended up right back in New York and just continued, and that's what I tell everybody when they're like, what advice would you give? And it's like, get as much on your resume as possible. And that means, not only lead characters, you don't always have to be a lead character. There are people who make millions not being a lead character.
That's true. That's true.
It's any experience you can get. And I highly recommend stage for the discipline, and also maybe you think you want to do that, but you find out that you're more interested in set design or makeup or, directing or, you can do something. There's so many opportunities outside of just acting. So I tell people, try a bunch of different things, find out what you enjoy and continue it, pursue it.
Absolutely. Do all you can. And well, goodness, we just think alike in a lot of ways. Because I have to tell you, with my story, I was away from artistic projects for years to care for my grandmother who raised me. But my point is, when I finally returned, you know what? I wasn't just thinking about getting a speaking part or the lead. I was like, I just want to start working again, and I can work my way back up. So a couple years ago, when they filmed Dark Waters here in Cincinnati, Robyn, I got an opportunity to be a part of a background scenes as a Taft attorney. And guess what happened? Because of those efforts, I'm in several shots. And if this is almost better, one day when they were promoting the film, there was a print promo of Anne Hathaway and Mark Ruffalo. And guess who's standing right behind Anne?
Oh, nice.
Yep.
Hey,
there you go. And I'm like, so you know what? You're right. It's you work your way up and just keep at it. And like you said, you may discover you like doing something else.
Yes. Yeah. And there's so much that can come from just giving yourself a chance and giving it a try. And, go out on those auditions, go to those auditions. You're not going to get them all. You're not. But what you are going to get is you're going to take something from each one. And whether it's good or bad, you're going to learn from it. And that's the huge thing.
Well, Robyn, if I were to ask you about auditions for your 2 soap roles, is there anything that's standing out on your mind?
Well, I mean, there's several things, when just the whole weird experience I went through. My mother drove me into New York because I'm from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and she drove me into New York for the audition. Then they wanted to see me again for the callback and meet the producer. And then when we were driving back, I ended up getting back home to a voicemail that said, bring Robyn right back in. They want to screen test her tonight. So get out of the car. And my dad then, after he was finished with work, just drove me back in and I screen tested. And then 3 days later, over the weekend, and waited and found out that Monday that I got the role. And
wow.
So that sticks out. The other
lots
thing,
of dialogue, right? I bet you were like, whoa.
Yes, a lot of dialogue. And I didn't screen test with anybody. I think I screen tested with someone just reading lines to me.
Very interesting.
Yeah, because I think everyone left by that time. The other thing was Another World. I wasn't sure I wanted to go back into acting so quickly. And went in on the audition, and I'll never forget, Julian McMahon was the other person in my audition. Like we actually met in the waiting area. And we were the only two there, and I thought that was kind of odd. But meaning we were the only two actors there. Usually you walk in and there's a whole bunch of people waiting.
That is unusual.
But it was almost like they had us kind of picked out to audition that time. So, so I went in on that and wasn't really sure I wanted to even do it. So I really didn't, I'll be honest, I didn't put a lot of thought into it, And then they called my manager and said that they would like me to do the next process, which was singing. And I had to meet with someone and sing. And that's what really kind of sparked my interest, because I mainly sing. So I went and did that.
You must have quite the voice.
I don't know. People seem to like it.
Well, if you want to sing some Annie later, you're welcome to. Just so you know.
Of course, Annie, all the time. So then I was asked to screen test, and I never got on the plane to go to New York to screen test. I just still wasn't sure. So they came to me and they met with me. And I then went to New York and officially screen tested again, went back to LA and met with people again, and ended up with the role and got to sing and had a great time and wonderful actors, and the rest is history.
It sure is. And let me ask you, as far as like being recognized for your work on a soap, right? Was that something that was common for you during those years? If you were out in public at a store, people would recognize you?
Yes. And it's funny, and it was either they would recognize me for One Life to Live or Another World. It depended on what network you watched. You either watched ABC, CBS, or NBC, and I was on two of those. So, so it was interesting. And, every now and then someone will recognize me. It's funny, people don't forget, which is so nice. It just reminds me that, I did something good. So
You sure did. You sure did. Well, no doubt you worked with so many amazing and wonderful folks. The actors on daytime television, to this day, they're just so talented. And you know that to be true.
Oh, yes.
And I mean, isn't it true? I mean, you really have to be a focused actor to work on a soap opera, or
you
good
really
at balancing your life, because you could. I mean, you cannot get behind on lines, can you? I mean, it would just be way too overwhelming.
No. It's you're doing a different script each day. So you can't. The one thing with me was I liked getting, my lines down about 10 minutes before I went on, so that it was fresh and real. I didn't like it to be so staged, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one thing with me. But I have a memory, so that came easy for me. And that comes back to the stage
Yes.
training I had, you know. You have to perform live, so you can't screw up your lines. So yeah, it was, you know, people don't realize you have to have a lot of discipline and patience. You have to be able to wait, you know, until it's your turn to get on camera, you know. So it's a lot of it goes into that, you know.
Absolutely. And viewers are very loyal, and they cherish their characters, and even if your character's long gone, they still, you know, remember the character or your performance, let's say Robyn, so well. And that is wonderful. Very loyal fans.
Yes, the fans are what makes it even better. It's just, not only are you doing something you have a passion for, but then people appreciating it, it just is wonderful.
Well, how did you go from daytime television, Robyn, to being in a lot of horror movies?
You know, I just thought, you know, I've done pretty much everything I wanted to do. I did modeling, I did singing, I did acting, you know, and I love horror movies. So,
I do too.
So
big
I
surprise. We both like
I
something the same.
Yeah. So just like, I was like, I really want to just do some of those. And I didn't want to do like mainstream. I wanted to do like the movies where they're using corn syrup and, you know, to make blood and,
Sounds
you know,
fun.
stuff like that. And, you know, and I loved it. And I cherished those. There was a lot of fun.
Well, you know, Robyn, forgive me, please, for another 80s reference, but I still remember riding my bicycle to the video store, Blockbuster or Hollywood Video, and walking into the horror section and going, whoa, look how many Friday the 13th is on that row. Which one do I want to watch for the fourth or fifth time today?
Yes, all the Friday the 13th and Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
There was, you know, but it's funny, you know, those are my favorite horror movies. Those in like the 70s ones, because they were original scripts. They weren't, you know, rebooted, as they say.
And you know, Robyn, I don't know if you've ever seen Psycho 2. The sequel to Psycho.
Yes. Oh, you know what? Anthony Perkins.
Oh.
I love him.
Wow, I do too.
I watched Psycho, the original, and I don't know what it was, but I just thought he was the best thing since sliced bread. I mean,
fascinating, isn't
and his acting. Oh, fascinating.
I mean, Norman Bates was so tormented, and that
was
sequel,
an amazing role.
All of those years, as you know, Robyn, and then that music, they had that haunting, sad music in it at times. I'll share something interesting with you. So if you ever see it again, I know you'll know. It's like they play it a lot. There's a scene where Meg Tilly takes him into his mother's room, and they play the music, if you're trying to know what I'm referring to. And she goes, is this where some of your bad memories are from? And he's like, some of them. And but what's interesting is I read that Anthony Perkins told someone, I think it was the person actually working on the music or someone in production for Psycho 2, the first time he heard that music, he said, that's what I feel on the inside when I play Norman.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I wanted to share that with you.
Well, I'll tell you what, and
you're such a good listener, Robyn. Thank you.
But I don't know if he got a nomination or anything, but his performance, if that performance was happening today, if they were doing that movie today, he would have won an Academy Award.
Absolutely.
if he did not then.
Absolutely. Now, Robyn, do
They
you
they
think
don't
about
make that.
Yeah, they don't make. I mean, it's hard to come up with a story like that, and but
Yes.
I always feel that someone will, because the potential's there for the right person to use their imagination, and we need more of that. We need people thinking outside the box and not just formula.
Yes.
You know. But do you think about acting a lot? I mean, with your health battle, I mean, is it something where you go, I want to do this again one day?
Yeah, I really do.
Okay.
I definitely want to do it. I have so much left, and I still sing. I still love acting, and I think I'm ready to go right back into it.
Well, I'm going to be cheering you on, just so you know.
Well, thank you.
Well, Robyn, now you mentioned about all of these expenses that you're having to sort out and deal with. I'm sure it's very stressful, even just thinking about it. I get stressed just thinking about what that must be like for you. But you mentioned people are helping and contributing. Is there anything that you would like to share if someone's listening and they too would like to help you out with these medical expenses?
Well, I have constant fundraisers going on, whether it be, GoFundMe. They have a page.
Okay.
There's a GoFundMe page. Facebook has fundraisers going on. There's also, people are hosting parties for me, like Pampered Chef, or there's Sipology, which is my niece did. Stephanie hosted a party for me. There's all sorts of stuff. There's Tupperware. Everyone's trying to contribute, and there's a way to contribute in your own way. And, not everyone can afford to do these things, so that's why I'm so thankful for prayers,
Yes.
because at most that is, that's that's the biggest help that I can get, and the financial stuff is wonderful, and it does help me a lot. But those prayers, they answer many things. So
they sure do.
But I'm of course thankful for anything that anyone can do.
Well, I just, like I said, I'm going to be sending prayers your way. And if there's ever anything I can do for you or help get the word out about anything, I want you to know I'm here, and all you have to do is let me know.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And just keep me informed so we can do our 80s show.
Well, I am going to talk to you about that off the air, because I just think it would be so much fun just to talk about the 80s.
Yes.
So stay with me after I say goodbye to you here. But I have to say that I just so enjoyed speaking with you. I know, of course, heavy topics are a part of it, our conversation, but I've learned so much today about you and about myself. And, I just want to say thank you for being so generous and sharing your story. And you can certainly come back and do a part 2 of our discussion today. We can talk more about your acting projects from the past, or what you hope for in the future, and more of your health situation. So keep that in mind. But I just have to say, what a pleasure to meet you today.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And thank you for having me. And it's been so much fun.
It sure has.
Hollywood and Beyond podcast is produced, edited, and hosted by Steven Brittingham. See you on another episode of Hollywood and Beyond. Thanks for listening.